Good afternoon, everyone. Pink Floyd, what's up? I'm sure everyone saw exactly what happened this morning. We had a big, massive push lower to the tune of, looks like about 330 handles, maybe a little more. So based on that, and not only was it just this morning, but also overnight, you can see where we dropped from the Asia high at around 9 o'clock last night. And before that, everything from yesterday's close. So we've been pushing down for about 48 hours now, and we went. I'll show you something I was looking at this morning. I thought was interesting. We go to our monthly candle. Let's do this. All right, so this is our monthly candle. This purple one here. If we look at the high was right around 789, 789. And when we're on the daily, that high was reached yesterday. We reached a monthly high yesterday, and now we're pushing towards the monthly low, which is at 824. So we're about a little over 200 handles away, 250 or so. So it's just interesting to see how we created the high of the month the day before the last day of the month, and then the final day of the month we're pushing towards the monthly low. Now we do have an unbalanced wick here, so if we don't get to the low today, obviously we'll start the November candle tomorrow somewhere in this range, and I'm expecting for this wick here to be balanced somewhat. It may not trade all the way to 50%, but it may go like a quarter percent or something. So we may end up looking at 550. So I don't think we're done going lower. We may be done going lower today, but I don't think we're done going lower for the coming week or two. Let's look at the weekly setup, right? And the reason why it's so easy to get to the monthly low, as you can see, every week this month, we pretty much traded in the exact same range. It wasn't like we had expansion and then price needed to completely crash to get to the monthly low. We didn't do a lot of expansion is what happened. And so it didn't take much. Um, right. We're talking about it from the high yesterday to where we are right now. We're talking about a drop of just under 700 handles. Now that's a lot. But back-to-back days of 300 to 400 and an expansion is not uncommon with Nasdaq. So the fact that we can go from the high to the low in 2 days already lets you know that the range is pretty small, and we've been that way for approximately 2 months now. So most likely, we obviously have the quarterly results coming out from a lot of the major corporations this week. We also have NFP on Friday, well, tomorrow. So that's the first day of the new month. But also the big news is the elections on Tuesday. So this is most likely election based where it didn't want to move too far. And we're pretty much back to where we were about a month ago. So after Tuesday, then I would expect for price to then make a move in whichever direction it really wants to go. All right, let's get back to where we are. We will have an abbreviated session today. I do have an appointment I need to go to. So around between 2:30 and 2:45, I'll have to get off so I can get there in time. But again, I'm not expecting a huge range this afternoon. I'm not even really expecting anything. So if we just get price moving sideways until that time, it would not surprise me. What's up, Dion? And in fact, let me go back over just a second and let's take a look at the daily. All right, so we following market structure. We broke market structure to the upside, pushing bullish right after we took over this high right here. So then we retraced inside and then took out this high over on this side. That made our protected low right here, right? When we made this high, retraced again, put in a new high over there. So our protected low shifted to right here. And so far we haven't had a closure. I like for it to close above this wick. When it put this wick up and then retrace back inside, for it to move the protected low higher, I want to see the closure above this wick, and it hasn't done that yet. So our protected low is where we are. Oh, actually, you know what? I take that back. I think I did measure this earlier, and this candle was 1 point above this wick. So the protected low is here. So we want to see where price closes later on today. So this wick right here, if we look at the top, it says the high was at 707.25. And then on this candle here, the closure was 708.25. So one point above. So when this candle closed on Tuesday, closure on Tuesday then shifted the protected low to right here. And now here we are challenging that low. We've even put a wick below it already. So when we get to the end of today, I want to see where we are. If we close below, then what I mentioned when we first started, that I was looking for prices to continue lower a bit into next week. That's probably in play if we get a closure below 20,079. Yep, 20,079 flat. And this level is the same on the daily as well as the 4 hour. If I shift over to the 4 hour, we can see once this candle closed over here. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. So when this candle closed over here, it actually took out the high from October 14th at 6 a.m. And so it's the same level. This is the lowest point between those two highs. I'll show you, between this high and this high here. That put our protected low there. It's the same spot. And again, so at the end of the 4 hour as well as the daily, which essentially means on the 4 hour, the 2 hour candle. So the 2 o'clock candle. It'll go from 2 o'clock until 5 p.m. And then we'll look and see where we are. If we close below, then obviously we're going to be looking for something lower. Now, if we close below, it'll want to retrace. We got to remember we swept a low here, a swing low. And when we closed below it, this 2200 candle yesterday, we did not trade back to it. So that's going to be an area the price will likely want to retrade to. So even if we get a closure below and you start seeing price move higher, it's most likely just going here to balance price to continue lower. And so we may see a push up tomorrow or lower prices next week. But we'll revisit that as we continue trading throughout the week and into next week. But I just wanted to point that out since I was looking at it earlier. Hey, what's up, Carlos? The 1 minute, it's 11:44. Sure, let's check that out. Yep, on the 1 minute, that would be your breaker. So good eye. You're doing it exactly the same way I like to do it. When I come in, I like to look, find the southernmost point, find that last retracement just before. That is your breaker. We confirmed it at 12:07, traded back in a couple times, and now are at the most have traded about 35 handles above. So on the screen before I had the 5 minute, and then this is the 1 minute. So good eye, Carlos. No, it's okay, Carlos. I actually appreciate people who come here looking to learn how to fish as opposed to come here looking to eat. So I have no problem. If you think you see something and you want me to take a look at it, just ask. All right, Queen. Thanks for dropping by. The 8 is a target on ES. Okay. We just pull up ES quickly. I don't mind taking a look at that. Sweet. All right. So we got a very similar setup here. Again, I'm looking at the 5-minute now. Actually, we just got a confirmation for yes at 13:05, so just 15 minutes ago. Okay, you said 78. Oh, I see. We're looking to get consequent encroachment or just above in this fair value gap. Okay, let's go to the 1 minute and take a look at that. 11:44. Look, same time on ES. During the silver bullet, you mean during the silver bullet hour? So between 2 and 3? Mm, yeah, we could. Yeah, I mean, you're asking me to predict speed, like when will it actually get there? And there's really no telling. There's no news or anything to push it there that quickly. So 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock, it could happen either way, either one of those. So I'm not sure if it'll happen during the silver bullet, but I do think we can get there. Because you got to remember with the big push lower this morning, we do have some price inefficiencies above us. So it'll want to revisit some of those, not all of them, but it will want to revisit and balance out some of those. All right, let me move this 5 minute out of the way because we have not confirmed that yet. Now on ES, we did see that ES confirmed at 105, a bullish breaker. We have not gotten that on Nasdaq here. Yeah, I trade 9:30 and 10 in the morning. I do. I trade all day. Dollar cost. Oh, you're asking me, do I scale in into a winning position? Um, Not a whole lot. And the only reason why is not because I don't see the value in it. It's I don't usually take my trades that far. Um, so I won't usually take a trade and try to get 100 points out of it. I'm usually trying to close out in 30, 40 points. And most of the time around the 30. Now there are times where I may take an entry here at the top of the breaker, and then if it retraces down to the median point down here, consequent encroachment, I may take a second entry there, and so then you kind of get an average of somewhere in the middle here as your entry. So I'll do that sometimes, and even on a winning position occasionally. But for the most part, I'm usually looking for usually a quick hitter, so there's not a lot of opportunity to scale in. But I see when prices is like, for instance, on this big move down this morning, on this kind of move, I see how it's beneficial to scale in, especially not here on the 5 minute. You don't see a lot of pullbacks, but on the 1 minute, I'll show you. Let me try to find that. Yeah, so ICT taught or he mentioned a strategy for scaling in when you're on site and you know where the draw on liquidity is and you see price moving in that direction. He was saying you can take additional entries whenever you see a closure of a candle in the opposite direction. You're less likely to have drawdown, and or you have a smaller drawdown and you can get on size or add positions that way. So a lot of people will scale in here. In fact, if you miss the position, this is an area to get in. um, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't catch this move this morning, but in this area was when I was considering entering for a short, and I didn't do it, and then this broke down, and then I said, okay, I'm out. I'm too late. I'm not gonna get in. So that happened, but no, I'm not really good at scaling in, and I generally just don't take my trades that far, which is why I don't. One of the reasons why I like to take 25, 30 handles on a Nasdaq trade here out of the breaker is because too many times I've entered. So we have a confirmation here at 12:10, 12:15. We had price trading back down. So too often I've entered right here and price has only done this and then came back. And so you end up with either a break-even trade or now you're in drawdown and you're wondering if it's going to break up again. So once I discovered this during my back test that this happens all the time and multiple times actually, I just started measuring this range here and trying to exit at a reasonable spot in there. And we can see this price, the first price run delivered from 0.75 to 115. So it gave about 40 handles. Tiffany Rock, this we trade the breaker block / unicorn model. If you're familiar with ICT, the unicorn is just a breaker block with the fair value gap inside. So when I've considered, it's going to be based on, and this is for Joseph, it's going to be based on the drawn liquidity. So if price has not reached the drawn liquidity and you see it retrace back down to your breaker, then you can go ahead and use your breaker again. Just know that it could trade below the breaker and then back up. So invalidation point on a breaker block is going to be, right? So let me go down to the 1 minute so we can look at this 1 minute breaker. All right, so if this is the breaker starting this point to here, down here, and then we got the confirmation over here, right? So if that's our breaker, then the invalidation of the breaker is a closure below this point. And that's another reason why I want to take my 30 points and then exit, because when it comes back and then it trades down here, I don't necessarily want to be in. But when it then retraces back up into the breaker once again, if we get a closure above consequent encroachment, now my radar is back on. I'm believing in the breaker, and I'm looking for now it to then reconfirm and close above the breaker once again, and then I take it again. But what we're seeing happen right now often occurs where a price will trade up a little bit and it'll come down into a deeper retracement. And that's when either if I'm entering for the first time, I'm getting in at the top and then I'm looking for a second entry here. And in that case, if it trades below the breaker, I might be in trouble. But if I've taken the first one, I'll let the second one drop down and then I'm waiting for a reconfirmation again, and then I'll take it again. But outside of that, it's so that's the decision I'm making when it's coming back the second time, is whether I want to get in at the top or whether I want to wait for it to retrace a bit. And it's a gamble because sometimes it'll touch right at the edge and then take off. So you do have to make a decision at that point, decide how much risk you're willing to take. But for it to trade to the lower half of the breaker or even below the breaker, it's very common. You just don't want to see a closure below here. If you see a closure below this point, then that's an invalidation, and then your breaker is no longer valid. Here's the presentation. I do not, Samar, I do not. Yeah, it's this first fair value gap after 9:30 is something I'm only recently familiar with in the last probably 6 weeks or so. I've started hearing people talk about it, but it's not something that I employed to my strategy. I've tried it one morning, but only once. Not it's not something I do every day. Back, I'm gonna measure this leg down and let's see where the consequent encroachment part is there. So that is 20,048, right where we are right now is half of this leg down. So we'll see how far down price wants to trade. Let me just look and see if we have any imbalances to see where price may want to go. Okay. All right. So we have this candle, this high to this low. Where consequent encroachment has not been traded to. In fact, consequent encroachment is the lower edge of the breaker. And I think possibly this candle has not been balanced. Yep. All right. So we'll look for these two areas to be traded to, one of them, and see if price wants to turn around at that point. Okay, so we're right at consequent encroachment of that first candle that I highlighted. If it trades all the way through, then we'll look at the second candle. And for anyone who's trying to follow along, that is the bottom candle is the 11:55 1 minute, and the upper range is the 11:57 1 minute candle. So 11:55 and 11:57. me just jump up quickly. I'm going to jump up to the 1 hour. All right, now back down to the minute. $105 to 107. Let's see. Bearish breaker. You sure can. Yep. That's your high point. So it's going to be your swing low just before it and the swing high just before that. So it's going to be here. Confirmation at 1312. Trade back in. Hit consequent encroachment. Breakdown. All right. So we've now, I think, balanced out that first candle. Let's see if now the bottom candle is what needs to be balanced before moving higher, or if price continues lower. I mean, it's been heavily bearish today, and there's nothing saying it won't continue. Yes. Samar, that's 90% of the entries I take are breakers. And there's constant encroachment of the bottom candle. See if that's where price wanted to trade to, and now if it wants to go higher, or if we're still bearish for the afternoon, and then we'll see lower prices. We're on the verge of putting in a new low for the day. Oh, forgot. We have already passed our lunch level. So we've already traded below the lunch low. Let me go ahead and put in the lunch high. Bullish breaker is invalid with a closure below 0.23. We need 300. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Good to hear some more. Now in the macros, 150 to 210. And so now we want to see if we get a closure above consequent encroachment first, and then a closure back above the breaker here, and see if we get a push higher. For anyone new to the channel, I'm not just looking for a bullish breaker here just because. I'm looking for a bullish breaker here just because they're bullish PD arrays already. On the 1 hour, we have this big, large breaker that you see on the bottom portion of the screen. We also have on the 1 hour this fair value gap. So this fair value gap you see right here is a 1 hour. It's even though we're looking at the 1 minute time frame right now, we have a 1 hour bullish fair value gap here. And so that's the only reason why I'm looking for a bullish breaker in this position. And knowing how bearish we've been this morning, there's a lot of unmitigated price above us. All right, so we did not close above consequent encroachment, so we'll give it a few more candles and see if we can get up there. Otherwise, if it continues pushing lower, then obviously we will close below 0.23, which would be another, which will follow price lower. It's going to be bearish. will invalidate this bullish breaker right here. Let's also be reminded that today is the last day of the month. And so price at some point will reach whatever the goal was for the month, and it'll essentially just become stagnant. Similar to like a Friday afternoon, if price has already reached its weekly goal, Friday afternoon, you won't see anything happen. We may have reached that point for the month. My sell from the day, oh, confirm as a breaker around which candle was it exactly? Tell me exactly which candle you were looking at on the 1 minute or 5 minute or whatever you were looking at. Okay, I think I see where you are. 2300, this section. It was not a breaker on the 1 minute, but let's look and see. Let's go. Let's drop time frames maybe on the 30-second. This high down to here, manipulation up to this side, trade lower, confirming right here, trade back inside to the consequent encroachment part, put candle body right on consequent encroachment. It did extend the wick a little bit and then broke to the downside. So yes, if you were on a 30-second, then absolutely this would have been a breaker. But any other time frames you were looking at, um, yeah, you just basically took a continuation trade. You took a small pullback, and then you figure it hadn't reached its liquidity pool yet, and so you jump back in to take it lower. But yeah, on the 30-second, you would have found this to be a breaker. Let me check the 15-second now. Might be a little cleaner. Yep, 15-second look a little cleaner. That was your breaker. I hope that was helpful. Yeah, not looking good for a bullish setup here. Get a break to the downside in the closure. Then you can come and grab this setup here. Where you go from here to here, up, and then look for some kind of confirmation down here. And then when it trades back in, take your entry. Yeah, I do want to caution you. There's a lot of reasons to be an observer this afternoon as opposed to a trader. Mm, yeah, I mean, when you want to go higher, you do always feel more comfortable if you sweep a low first. So absolutely. Um, I just want you to be careful and be aware that, price is probably going to try to confuse you. It's going to try to create some liquidity. And so this afternoon may not be the best session to trade. I mean, you can see here, it's taking its time to confirm the bearish setup, also taking its time to um, invalidate the bullish setup. Closed below the bearish setup, did not close below the invalidation point for the bullish. But at the same time, it's already tapped back in to the bearish setup. All right, we're currently bearish on all three indices on the hourly, and we're also bearish on the dollar. So we do not have an inverse relationship. We have them all traveling together. All right, so now we did get a closure below, so now we invalidate this one. So it really did only produce about that 40 point range that we talked about. Knew it. I knew it. Jesus. Trying to create liquidity. Mm. Let's see now if price moves to the downside. So it's already poked through. After confirmation, it's already traded all the way through the breaker and closed on the other side. Consequent encroachment. So let's now see if we get a push lower. More minute was complete. $8.26. Oh, okay, Ray. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yep. You're right, Par Trader. Right before election, it gives you that S&T there. But you see double tops on the weekly. Mm, I guess they're similar, but yeah, I would have thought the double top really was last week and the week before that. And it looks like price has been trying to turn around since about 11 o'clock, since 11:06 candle. We've been trading about a 30-point range, or at least this low area, this fair value gap on the hourly. We've been here since about 11 o'clock, trying to turn around. And even here, we've gotten stuck and been here for the better part of 30 minutes. volume imbalance right here. But yeah, Par, you're right. So when you have those values up top where you expect that to be liquidity, usually price will trade lower. We'll find a fair value gap or some place to balance price, and then it'll return. So you said that was on a weekly. Let me just look and see where on a weekly it may want to go to balance price. I know we just traded the consequent encroachment of the wick from the week of October 7th. That was at 20,056. So that part is now balanced. Yeah, there's not another place that needs to be balanced until we get much lower, about another 700-800 points on the, if we're looking at just the weekly. So I'm hoping 056 was where it wanted to go to balance, and then we'll play around here for a bit, and then starting next month or next week, we'll see price pick up and go and take those highs. lows now. Yeah, happy Halloween, everyone. For those of you with children, is Halloween being celebrated today or is it moved to the weekend? Oh, today? Okay, Carl, appreciate it. You said the confirmation was minimal, so the confirmation was here. Um, well, yes, you can absolutely wait for an additional confirmation. Now, what you want is you do want displacement, and in this case, it confirmed, but we really didn't get displacement. And the unicorn setup, which requires a fair value gap, is usually um, that confirmation of the displacement. So I like to see the fair value gap created on its way out. So this one was decent. I mean, it wasn't great, but it was decent. You'd like to see it a little bit stronger, or at least this row of candles here, you would have liked to have seen it push lower in maybe 3 or 4 candles. So instead of having this pullback, you would have wanted to see this candle, then this one, and then a follow-up candle. That would have made it much stronger and have been a lot easier to trade. But in this case, at least you got a fair value gap right at the entry point. So we're talking about an entry at 0.25. Now let's look and see where would liquidity be because we haven't been down here in looks like probably a week or two. Let's see. All right, so it looks like about October 8th is the last time we were at this level. So let's go to the 5 minute. Let's drop back the last time we were in this area. Here we go. Oops. Yeah, you see how this one right here is, Carlos, the confirmation of this bullish breaker back on October 8th. Like this is a strong confirmation. This is one you like to see. And then obviously when it retraced back down, you got a couple candles inside and then off it went. It was gone. But yes, this is definitely the ideal type of breaker that you want to see, an ideal confirmation. But I just wanted to make sure I stretch this across as we look, because we're at 20.025 and this breaker is at 19.996. So we're only about 30 handles away. So I just want to stretch this across just in case we revisit this. And then we got that 1 minute. Yeah, it can be, Captain. And for me, after seeing the type of movement we've had today, like you said, 400 handles, for me, then I'm out. Like I don't see the need to trade today. I'd rather let price finish up, have its overnight trading, and then I come in and look for a higher probability setup tomorrow. Joseph, it just I don't know. It just spoke to me. Like when I learned the setup and I started watching it and then I back tested it, it was something that it resonated with me. So I think that everyone should do that. Find something that speaks to you, something that you like, you enjoy, because you're gonna have to put in a lot of hours back testing it. You're gonna have to put in a lot of hours trading it on a demo account. It's gonna play with your emotions. You're gonna have to recover from that. So there's just so much that goes into trading and being successful at it that you need to find something that you really like. Um, and what one thing that I have observed is that if you practice a setup long enough, pretty much everything works. It just doesn't work all the time. So you need to figure out when your type of setup works, what time frames, what type of range can you expect, which chart or which time chart is best for your setup. Like all of those things you have to learn about your particular setup. So I would say find something that you really like. It could be as simple as I do optimal trade entry. You just like to take a retracement, find it at the 62% level, and then take that back to whatever the swing point it just came from. It could be that simple. I know some people like VWAP, some people like EMAs, people like all different types of setups. And so I just challenge you to find the one that you like, the one that makes the most sense to you, and go from there. So that's what happened to me, is that I tried all of them. I looked at the silver bullet. I looked at optimal trade entry. I looked at order blocks. I looked at everything ICT has presented. Because I've gone through the 2016. I didn't do the mentorship, but once he uploaded everything to YouTube, I went through all those videos. But I did join his 2022 mentorship right when he put it out. And so I was following it weekly as he was putting up new videos. I also went through the 2023, probably halfway through. I'd stopped watching him about June or July of last summer. So I've seen almost everything that ICT has put out there on YouTube, and the breaker block unicorn setup just made the most sense to me. No problem, Joseph. Carlos, I am not in a trade. No, I'm not going to trade this afternoon. For various reasons, but I'll go over them again. First reason is we've had a huge range this morning. So unless we look extremely bullish where we're going to balance some of that range, then I don't want to try to take a continuation only for it to consolidate and chop me up. So I'm not taking an entry for that reason. Another reason, we have NFP tomorrow. So this is the session just before NFP. This is the final day of the month again. So November closes today. I'm sorry, October. And so because of that, we may have reached whatever liquidity point that price wanted to do during the month. So it may just consolidate this afternoon. But on a more personal reason, I'm also family member of mine is having some medical issues right now, and so I'm waiting for a call and an update. So that as well has me sitting on the sidelines for today. So there's just a lot to consider. And when you put all those together, it's best to not trade. I appreciate that, Par. Thank you. Yeah, but I looked at price earlier, and it's very similar to what happened yesterday. Is that if you got in at the opening bell move, then you were good to go. But then after about 10 or 15, at around 10:15, the big price moves were already gone, and then you just kind of got choppy price action for the rest of the day. And then there's this big move at 4 o'clock. So let's not forget that at 4 o'clock today, we're going to have, sorry, think today is all right. So today, Thursday after close, Amazon, Apple, and Intel will all three be announcing their their quarterly earnings. And based on the quarterly earnings, obviously these are big companies in Nasdaq. So since they have a large percentage of the index itself, as these companies go, so does the entire index. So there's going to be a big reaction this afternoon at 4 o'clock. Another reason for price to stagnate throughout the day to get ready for that big push at 4 o'clock. So yeah, it's just a lot of reasons to not jump into these setups. And as I say that, we're getting a bullish, I mean a bearish push now. We're getting some type of action happening when it seemed like nothing was going on, but now we drop down to the 1 minute. See if we get a new low. Put this marker up there. Yeah, it looks like a chop fest. If you're not in a position, protect yourself. Consider sitting on the sidelines here. If you've been doing this for a while and you feel confident, by all means, I'm not trying to stop you. Be right back. Just gonna grab something to drink. All right, so we have the dollar pushing heavily to the downside while we have the three indices really holding, holding firm where they are. I'll show you on the hourly here. So we have the dollar on the far left. We can see this hour, the range of the candle. So we can see all three indices have a pretty small range, and price is pretty much around the center, right where it started the hour. So we've gone 40 minutes and not really moved anywhere. Moved a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and still sitting there in the center. Um, so my guess is we're gonna sit around until 3 o'clock and then see what price is gonna do. But we do have a macro coming in 10 minutes. So maybe we'll get some more information at that time. But as you can see, yeah, it's not really willing to do much. The entire hour's range is from 050 down to 011, so about 40 handles. Now we'd like to see the inverse relationship. So with this level of push to the downside, we'd like to see all the indices push higher into these bearish gaps that were created this morning. But for whatever reason, we saw during the last hour, we looked at a bullish setup and we thought maybe price wanted to push higher and it wouldn't. But for 4 hours, so the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and now the 2 o'clock candle, all four of these basically put in a low. And we thought maybe it wanted to push higher, but so far it has not done so. Now, what may happen is all the indices may just hold firm where they are. We'll see the dollar continue pushing until it gets to this bullish fair value gap. And then we'll see the dollar push higher. And then we could see these finally push for lower prices. If it's trying to go lower, which right now it looks like that's the way price action is showing. But either way, it's low probability, so I wouldn't enter if I wasn't already in, I wouldn't enter right now. I'd wait. Yep. I appreciate that, Brian. Thank you. Yep, you're right. We're building liquidity on both sides, really. It's got some people looking long, some people looking short, and it's just taking everyone's order. And hang around for a few more minutes, and then that'll be it for our session today. I gotta have an appointment I need to run, and honestly, it looks like we're not gonna miss much anyway. Good candle. We don't want to see a full retracement here. Let's see it leave a gap. Let's push lower. And honestly, this wouldn't be the first time where the previous macro confirmed a breaker, and then it waited a whole nother 40 minutes until the next macro before actually doing something. So we have the macro starting in about 2.5 minutes here. And this is not what I wanted to see. I wanted to see it leave a big fair value gap here. See if we get a break of the trend line here. Not bad. It's already traded up and balanced out this candle, so I want to see it continue lower. All right, here's the macro. Traded back into the breaker. Let's see if we get a push lower with speed. And let's see if we can get down to 985. Yeah, if it doesn't happen in the next couple candles, it's not a good sign. Yep, that's where I originally wanted to put a stop. So I was looking at 20-point stop loss, 40-point TP. Close to the first 5 minutes of our macro. And so far, no real momentum to the downside. All right, let's see if this candle does it since we've already now made a swing point. Got a high and then two lower highs to the left and the right. I don't want to see price trade above here now that that swing has been made. Afternoon, it's going to be a liquidity building exercise. So not a whole lot happening. Oh well, one of those afternoons. Kind of had a feeling after 400-point morning that this is what we would get. Yep. All right, appreciate that, Captain. Thank you very much. Yep. Now we have price pushing to the bullish side. So good luck to everyone who's trading the power hour. Heading in, just be careful as you get closer to 4 o'clock, as the earnings will be announced from those companies we showed earlier, which is Amazon, Apple, and other Amazon, Apple, and Intel. So just be careful if you're trading around 3:50 to 4 o'clock. Also, if you're looking bullish, be careful there as well. Bearish fair value gap ahead. This is the bearish breaker that sent price lower right as lunch was concluding, right at 1 o'clock, right as we were starting. And this chop fest that's been pretty much our entire session. Mhm. Yep. Well, there's 050. So El Jefe, there we are. We did hit that level. So, all right, everyone. I will be back tomorrow for the afternoon session, 1300. Remember, tomorrow morning is NFP at 8:30. So I don't know what tomorrow afternoon will bring us. It is the first day of November, but it will be Friday. So on the weekly, we'll look and see if there are levels that it needs to reach. If not, then we're starting out a month, which is sometimes you want to let it print a couple days just to show its hand a little bit. But we'll see what it brings. Tomorrow, 1300. On your way out, if you can click the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. That's much appreciated. And I'll be back at it tomorrow afternoon. So safe trading this final hour for everyone. I would recommend everyone jump in demo if you want to hit the button just to see what happens. But I wouldn't look to trade live funds or a performance account or anything. But anyway, I will catch up with you guys tomorrow. And thanks for the well wishes for my family member. Do appreciate that. Thank you, everyone. All right. See you tomorrow.